This boy and girl are going to be well equipped when the time comes to take their places as worthy members of adult society.
Aloha, y'all. This is Daniel Eisenman, the host of the Breaking Normal podcast, where my guests are all invited based on the frequency of synchronicity, all done in person, and all trailblazers in the breaking of all things normal. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Breaking Normal podcast. I'm here in Boulder at the Let's Do podcast studio, and this is a special episode for me because it happened once before with Austin Einhorn, who I think our producer here, Yovel, he wants y'all to debate. He wants you to have a debate with my previous podcast guest, Austin Einhorn. And Yovel is the one that introduced me to Austin, and it was one of my favorite episodes.
Yep.
And he's the one that introduced me to you. I'm here with Josh Shadle.
That's right.
And this is already one of my favorite episodes before we even started. I mean, you were beatboxing. You sat in the seat that I've always sat in. And I'm like, I kind of want to switch sides. But you persuaded me to let's keep the pattern aligned for me sitting in the interviewer chair. You came in with no sleeves, which I've been poked at fun before for having no sleeves. And today I'm wearing them. And you brought a notebook. You had a notebook and a pad and a pen. And I was like, wow, that's also, I'm usually the only one that does that. So we have a lot to talk about. From what I understand from Yovel and briefly viewing you on social media, to me, it looks awesome.
Oh, boy.
It looks awesome. Is that you're a sprinter with a very good physique, especially for your age. And a great mustache.
Thank you. This is new. Relatively new.
Yeah, yep. I want to ask some questions about that for myself. And I don't know if I was understanding fully from Yovel, but it looks like you're pursuing sprinting still, and that you've been clocked at a high speed. Did I remember something like 22 miles per hour?
Yeah.
And are you like aiming to be the fastest clocked man at a certain age? So that's just one question, but just to sneak that answer into that question. And why don't you introduce yourself as well for all the Breaking Normal audience? And why do you think you're on the Breaking Normal podcast based on what you're doing? And what are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me. I absolutely love the name Breaking Normal. I feel like that's how I've always lived my life. I just want to be different, unique. Everybody's going this way. You know what? I'm going to go that way. So I love the name. I'm Josh Shadle. I've lived in Boulder for 20 years.
Wow.
Okay. Year and a half ago, I moved to Columbia, South Carolina. That's where my mom lives now. And thought it would be a nice change. Really great place to train year round. It's a little bit difficult to train as a sprinter in Boulder. Weather is unpredictable. Sometimes it's difficult to get on the tracks. So a little bit easier in Columbia, South Carolina. But, the Chief Niwot curse, you can't just get away from Boulder. And Boulder is just such a special place in so many ways. People are super into health, fitness, entrepreneurs, go-getters, high achievers. And that's something I resonate with. And so I've been a body worker for 20 years. And I call myself a body worker. I'm a licensed massage therapist, but when you got something wrong in your house and you call a handyman, he's got a bunch of skill sets and a bunch of tools, and he's probably going to be able to help you fix whatever you need in your house. And that's kind of how I view myself. Over 20 years, I've worked with world-class athletes and people with all kinds of terrible injuries, things that doctors couldn't really help. And I've had lots of my own injuries, especially being a 41-year-old masters track and field sprinter, just totally trying to see how much faster I can get. And I keep getting faster. As I'm getting older, I'm on that Benjamin Button train. So, I don't know. What else do you want to know?
Well, yeah, a lot. So thanks for just scratching the surface there. One thing is I was going to bring you some elk velvet antler and liver and heart, and you explained that you get tested, so it has to be clean. Yeah. And I got to explain that our elk velvet, like we have some UFC fighters that use our stuff, and they'll use like the bison liver and the heart, but they've told me they won't use the testicles and or the elk velvet. And the elk velvet is known to have IGF-1 in it. Mm-hmm. I love it. I think it's amazing for my joints, and I trust this. All the side effects are great. I feel great taking it. But first, let's start there. I mean, people are like 41 years old. You look like you do. You're trying to break sprinting records or your own record. Are you using, what is it, gear, or what kind of supplements are you allowed to use?
Yeah.
And who's testing you?
I mean, nobody's really, I mean, I'm a masters track and field sprinter, masters, you can do sprinting events, track and field events, field events after, I don't know how USA track and field does it, but after the age of I think technically after the age of 35, but even some people under 35 come in, because what do you do after you compete in high school and college? Not a lot of people continue on sprinting and doing track and field stuff. So it's a relatively small sport, but they are governed by testing agencies. And just like the whole thing I live by, I mean, I'm in the bodywork, healing, regeneration, anti-aging arena. So, lifting, sleeping well, doing movement, breath work, eating. I mean, I eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't seem to eat enough. Yeah. And the, supplements, I just take basic supplements, fish oil, vitamin D, K2, magnesium, vitamin C.
Well, I'll have to get you some of our liver, because
Yeah.
we're restocking our inventory right now. But I do like that. I mean, I didn't know that you might be I've heard that Velvet can set off a drug test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting to me.
And I feel like, people looking at me, if I compete and I compete well and I do as well as I think I can do, I'm going to be the guy who's going to get tested, because I got the muscles, but I've worked really hard to get to this place. I have an amazing strength and conditioning coach who's been a mentor, a guide, works with N1 training. They're out in Gumboro, world-class, all science-based stuff. And it's just a lot of hard work, cutting out a lot of things, adding in a lot of good things, and sticking to that for a lot of years. And you can do amazing things just with eating.
What's this person's name that you're working with?
Adam Miller.
Adam Miller.
Yep.
Sounds like a cool guy. He's in Gun Barrel.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, they got a whole team out there.
Well, so I didn't bring you the Velvet, but I brought you some tallow balm.
Okay.
And thinking about the massage stuff, I have a massage therapist. My old massage therapist in Encinitas, California, started using this and loving it. This is Yovel's favorite, so that's a gift for you.
Okay.
You can smell it if you want to
Cool.
try it. You can.
Yeah.
And speaking of bodies and young
Smells
women
awesome.
staring at your biceps at the gym, and you
I don't know
having
if
the
that's true or
muscles.
not,
You having
That's the
muscles.
spotlight syndrome. Look at me.
But you're very fit, and I just saw even on some of the videos where you're shirtless, which I totally appreciate. I also, I mean, I'm shirtless in a lot of my videos. Let's put it that way. I'm also just shirtless a lot. You're very fit. My youngest brother is a world-class swim sprinter, and he actually might be a world-class run sprinter too. He just never tested himself.
Yep.
And all of my other two brothers I used to work with for decades, or a decade at least, hosting health retreats and such. We're all kind of sprint oriented, very good at like fast twitch muscle movements, like whether like a muscle up or climbing a rope real fast, or my brother's doing backflips. And I've asked this to Austin as well. And I'm so curious to see what you think. But when I went to the swim meets, for instance, the high, like national level swim meets, the sprinters come out and they all look like gladiators.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like the physiques everyone dreams of having.
Yep.
And then all the endurance athletes, they almost kind of just look like quite normal. Maybe even a little on the chubbier side.
Yeah.
What's the connection? And yeah.
I mean, first of all, Austin's a trainer, right?
Yeah. Well, Austin, I think I remember him calling himself like the Sherlock Holmes of body pain.
Okay. Right.
He used to play volleyball.
Okay.
So no, he's not like a sprinter like you. Like he doesn't identify with being a sprinter like you do.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm definitely more of like a movement, bodywork, breath person, and I'm sort of shifting almost away from all bodywork to more movement, breath, sort of like where yoga, Pilates, and strength and breath work would all kind of meet in the middle. Because I love bodywork, but ultimately, if you really want to make lasting change, you got to put the work in,
But my question is, why do sprinters look so good and endurance athletes look so normal?
My guess would be, there's that resistance with the water, right? So
and running too. No, I'm saying that I see this in the running sprint. Look, like if you go watch the Olympics,
yep.
I'm like, well, that 100-meter sprint.
Well, and they look different too, right? I mean, are we talking about the 1,500-meter guys or the 100-meter, 50-meter, 200-meter guys? They're big. Or the 50, 100-meter guys are
especially
gigantic.
Yeah, so I'm saying, a lot of people that watch this podcast, they might want to know how to have the best physique possible. Is sprinting the way?
I think sprinting, like high exertion movements where you're taking lots of rest, you're going all out and you're taking lots of rest, you're building a lot of strength and you're stimulating testosterone, growth hormone naturally. So you're putting all this force, especially in swimming with the resistance. And then if you're taking adequate rest, you're giving your body enough time to recover. Whereas if you're doing distance stuff, because I did triathlon for 15 years and I was 20 pounds lighter, super emaciated. Mental health was in the tank. So when I kind of got back to sprinting, I put some muscle on, put some weight on, all that stuff kind of got better. So yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of the world-class sprinters, especially with the arms. I mean, the arms, you're always like, why do the sprinters have such huge arms? The arms really dictate what the legs are doing.
Okay.
So the arms and the hands and the shoulders really dictate the speed and the power. It's like a hammer. So you're using your arms to hammer force into the ground, and the legs are mimicking the arms. So with strong arms, you can run really fast. Not always, but seems to be the case, yeah.
Yeah, I like pointing that correlation out.
Yeah.
It was just always so obvious to me.
Yeah. Swimmers, not hating on swimmers, though. I love swimming. Swimming is amazing. But a lot of swimmers don't have butts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. I see that.
So why would that be?
Well, that's a good question. So, for instance, my butt, out of all parts of my body, is the one that I'm working on the most. And I also have quite flat feet. And those flat feet are really good for swimming fast.
Yeah. So you're a good
Are
kicker?
flat feet not good for a big butt?
I don't know. I mean, one thing that I've learned over the years is a strong psoas muscle, which is on the front side of your spine. The psoas and the gluteus maximus work synergistically. They work together. So a lot of people have weak psoas muscles.
How would you know if you have a weak or strong psoas muscles?
Yeah, I mean, you could do like a Pilates class and find out real quick. Okay. A lot of that is like core Pilates focus, but like belly roll-ups. You could do hip flexor exercises where you're pulling your legs towards your chest, like with a cable.
Oh, yeah?
You could stand and put a kettlebell on your foot and lift your leg up and see how hard that is. But like one interesting fact I've heard about sprinters, for example, is if you look at sprinters have gigantic asses, right? I mean, some of them are just like massive, but they've tested and looked at their hip flexor size as well, the psoas, and they have the largest psoas muscle. So they have gigantic glutes and gigantic psoas muscles.
All right. So we're getting to one of my goals here in life, is basically to beat my girlfriend in a race. She was a state champion sprinter, and the 100, 200, 100 by
in the pool or on
Kentucky,
the track?
On the track in high school.
Oh man.
So she's fast.
We should do some training.
Yeah. And so my two of my goals are to grow my gluteus and to beat her in a race.
Well, you may need to train your hip flexors. Yeah, your psoas muscle.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's just say we have a race coming up in 3 weeks,
so tons of time.
And so other people are listening too. Like, how do they? What would be their best chances? Is there of getting fast as possible for a sprint in like a month from now? Is there any kind of high leverage moves to do that in a shorter time? And then maybe you can give me the answer for next year as well, if that's easier.
I mean, that's a tough one, honestly. Sprinting. We're talking about sprinting, which is literally the most amount of force you can put through your body out of really any sport. Mm-hmm. So you're talking maximum amount of range of motion and maximum amount of force. So as like a body worker, I would say your number one goal would be to not get injured. Mm-hmm. So if you take someone who's like flexible and mobile and they don't have that strength, and they haven't been sprinting, and then they go and sprint, they haven't sprinted in a long time, the chances of like some kind of like pull or hamstring pull is a lot greater. So in a month, I mean, I would be doing definitely a lot of like movement breath work if you're not already doing that.
I do a lot of breath work, kind of like the Wim Hof style of like hyperventilating for 33 breaths and holding my breath. I do usually 3 rounds of those a day while praying and all kinds of things. But why is that helpful? Why just for my lung capacity, or why do you say that?
With the breath?
Yeah.
Short answer or long answer?
You can however you feel, because I mean,
I'm and again, I might look like I know what I'm talking about, but I'm still like learning a lot of this stuff. So my understanding
makes you much more trustworthy to say something like that.
It's true. It really is true. Yeah. Like I will say, the one thing that I do, I feel like that's very different than most people, is I do the work. So I'm more like, I'm going to fail and mess things up and get injured, and I'm just going to try a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to kind of learn from that angle. I'm not going to like spend all my time sitting reading, and I do a lot of that, but I'm more of a doer. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. So with the breath, my understanding and how it's helped me is the breath is the nervous system, and the nervous system is your spine. So when you breathe in and you exhale, you're really targeting your diaphragm, and there are other inhalation muscles like intercostals and scalenes and things that help you expand your rib cage to take in more breath and also to exhale. But the diaphragm is directly connected to the spine. And then the diaphragm connects directly to the psoas, and it connects directly to the pelvic floor. So when you breathe in, you're literally extending and expanding your spine. And that's the nervous system. And the nervous system, like the autonomic nervous system, we take for granted breath because it's automatic. So when you do what you're doing, like with the Wim Hof breathing or this intense breathing, you're consciously breathing, right? And so you're training yourself to kind of, we have these vagus nerves, and the vagus nerves, when they're restricted, you're kind of like in this fight or flight, this sympathetic state all the time, which is where a lot of people exist. They exist in small breaths, small chest breaths, and they're always tense. And so with what you're doing is you're opening yourself up. So the breath is the whole body. The nervous system is the whole body. Everything is connected to the breath. Not that I know what I'm talking about. That's what I've found is like, I used to do all this body work stuff to myself, get massages all the time, massage myself all the time. And I'm talking like, 5, 6, 7 hours a day for years. Whoa. I've tried every single massage tool there is. And at least at this point, what I found is, obviously all these other things we talk about, like nutrition and strength stuff, but it's like movement and breath. Breath is really good. But when you tie in movement with breath and you find positions where you don't move, and then to fill that space with the breath, that's where the magic starts to happen. You start practicing that, you start to open up more. And then
what's an example of that?
Well, so I'd say, if you just think like if we kind of what I said before, if you inhale, it's a natural extension. So somebody will say, hey, like pull your shoulders back, head back. You want good posture. But actually to have good posture, you should just breathing in, you have better posture, right?
I immediately almost predicted what you were saying, because when I think of my best posture is when I have a full lungs.
Yeah, right. And so with movement, you might say like, hey, I'm going to lift my arm up and over. So with the inhalation, you might say, maybe 2 arms, maybe like pull your arms back and breathe in and extend. I think
do you have a certain ritual people can follow when you're, because I know you have a YouTube channel as well. And it is reminding me, if anyone, I had a friend that requested, like, what is your breath work? A long time ago, I did make a video. It's called Breaking Normal Yin Yang Breath Set, I think it is. I think it's on YouTube out there. And I just go through the whole 40-minute process. But it seems like you do, on your Instagram, I saw you doing some breath stuff. And then your YouTube channel looks like a whole thing of ASMR massage.
Yep.
But do you have a video or something that people can follow?
I recently put out some super easy, low-level breath work examples, literally just examples from this great book that I bought called The psoas Solution, that talks about the connections between the diaphragm, the psoas, and the pelvic floor. And I literally went to Barnes & Noble and I'm like, what is happening to me? Because like I said, I'm like on this Benjamin Button train, you know, I am graying, but I feel so good. And for me, like mental health has been such a massive priority for me. And so, doing the breath work, playing around kind of with Wim Hof style stuff, but also just like literally box breathing, you know, breathing in for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, waiting for 4, and that adding in movement, and then finding out that, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to do all this psoas stuff, but literally if I just breathe, I can target the psoas. You know, I had neck surgery 6 years ago, super scary, didn't help.
What happened?
Well, I think from triathlon, it really took a toll on me. I mean, it was a good thing for me to get into, because I had a bunch of family loss when I was younger. So I kind of gave up running, got into triathlon, and then I mean, it just destroyed me. And then I've been a massage therapist, body worker for 20 years. So if you think about the body mechanics of a body worker, they're bent over, you know, working on people for hours, you know, 20 hours a week, sometimes more. And so it just put a lot of strain on my neck, plus triathlon, being in that time trial position, swimming, same thing, turning all the time. So I basically got stenosis in my neck, which is narrowing in the foramen, which is where your nerves exit. And it happened very quickly. It had all these terrible symptoms. And I didn't really know what to do. And a bunch of people said, you know, you should get on this quickly, because my arm was starting to shrink. It was atrophying. I had stuff in my fingers. So I got to surgery, and then a year later, all the symptoms were coming back, and I went to the doctor, and this guy, I still like hate this guy. And I'm like trying to not hate all doctors, because we need doctors. But, you know, I heard this quote. It was like, good doctors know how to operate. Better doctors know when to operate. The best doctors know when not to operate. So when I got back to see that doctor, you know, all he really wanted to see is like, hey, turn around. Let me look at your neck. He's like, who did that? Who did that? He was talking about the surgery. And I was thinking to myself, is he being like funny or something? He wanted to look at his work. He wasn't really, he didn't care that I was having all the symptoms. He's like, oh, just give it some time, you know? And it just kept getting worse and worse, you know? And anybody who's in pain, you know, when you're in pain, nothing else really matters in your life. All you can really focus on is how much pain you're in, right? So, So that's kind of what pushed me in to be like, I got to figure this out. Because, you know, being in your 30s with stenosis, like most people get stenosis in their like 60s, 70s.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, there was an amazing breaking normal doctor sitting here, Dr. Tusek from Cloud Medical.
Yeah, I know Tusek well.
You do? All right. That was an honor for me to meet him. I'm like, you are a breaking normal doctor.
Totally.
And it was a great interview too. So I'm happy you know him. And
good example of breaking normal right there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So the breath work. So focus on the breath work. Hey, I mean, like, you think I should start like doing like 70% sprints, 80, 90, like every day of the week, once a week? Like, how does someone get ready for something like this in my position?
I mean, it's hard for me to want to give you advice, because most people don't sprint because they get injured.
Yeah. So we have done, funny enough, my whole family put a much of pressure on us to do this. Yeah. And my youngest brother with us. Yep. He was the one pushing it. He smoked us both.
Wow.
Hollis beat me the first race by like an inch, and then he was like pushing it for another one, and we literally tied. I could not see who won. Yeah. But I would like to start smoking her a little bit more. Like my brother smoked both of us.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it's unfair to ask for like what to do in a month.
Well, I mean, I think it would just be less is more, you know? So what's the distance that you're racing?
I was thinking like 50 yards. Last time it was probably 40 yards. Something like 50, 60 would be open to. Yeah. What's the shortest professional race is 100 meters, is that right?
Technically 60 meters.
60, okay.
Indoor season.
Okay, so I think we should shoot for that.
Yeah. 60? Yep. Yeah, I mean, starting, you know, small, and then, I'd say starting at like 70, 80%, just kind of get into the rhythm, you know? You're sort of like training the hamstrings. I would say like the hamstrings are the thing that you have to worry about the most. So you're just trying to stimulate some adaptation with the hamstrings a little bit. I guess the question is like, how do you know it's 70 or 80%? Yeah. What is your 100%, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you just do less is more, and you're training like maybe up to 30 meters, you're doing little bits and only doing like 3 or 4 intervals at the most, with maximum rest. And I'm talking like 5 minutes
That's
between.
good. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. So you're kind of like, my coach and I, we talk about this, stimulate, don't decimate. So you kind of want to stimulate some adaptation and some of those sprinting muscles like your hamstrings, and doing short intervals, doing them not all out, moderate to moderately hard, taking lots of rest. And then you got to recover because sprinting is super hard on the nervous system. So taking 48 to 72 hours before you do it again.
Okay, good.
Because otherwise you're not really recovering, and then you're not fully recovered and you go and do it again. So maybe you're doing that 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and you're preparing yourself to do the best you can in a month, but most importantly, to not get injured.
Yeah.
Because you've only got a month, right?
Yeah. Well, what about a year? What about a year from now? Any most bang for your buck exercises for someone to get stronger? And I want to emphasize, like, I'm happy you mentioned like how the sprinting, those full forces, is what may stimulate testosterone and other feel-good hormones.
Yeah.
And how much better you feel as a sprinter than maybe you did when you were doing triathlons. Like, this is not just about me beating my girlfriend in a race. There's a much, to me, this is like about the best lifestyle.
I want to see this.
Yeah. This is like the best, I think it's the best lifestyle. It's like the highest, it's the highest leverage moves to feel good and have a good physique. I think is revolved a lot around more sprinting than it is endurance.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the point I'm making here. And I want to know how to get faster at sprinting.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome too, because you're like, again, if you can do it without getting injured, you're doing a few sprints and you're stimulating those hormones and getting all these adaptations. And for me, like, I absolutely love going to the gym. So going to the gym has shown me that I can express more range of motion. So what I like to think about gym is it is stretching. Like, going to the gym is resisted stretching. You're just taking joints through length. And so doing full range of motion. So if you're going to try to be really fast in a year, I would get in the gym 3 times a week and start training some of those sprinting muscles, especially the hamstrings and the glutes and the hip flexors, some of the arm stuff. And so you're trying to, get more range of motion, but you're getting more range of motion through strength. Because, like, to me, mobility is movement ability. When you get stronger, you do get more range of motion if you do it right. But if you go to the gym and you're just like doing little bits of range of motion to lift heavy weights, you're not going to, get more range of motion. And then sprinkling a little breath work and some movement and a little bit of sprinting.
Yeah. And here's a question for you too. My brother, I'm just so fascinated about this topic because of my brother, especially. He was getting so fast in the pool, and he was thinking that he stopped wanting to do anything that wasn't fast twitch or really, like, he wanted to not pull resistance. Like some people wear heavy bathing suits or have a string where they swim against resistance. He wanted someone to pull him. So, like, his body started only remembering going faster than it's ever gone.
Yeah, they do that in sprinting too. It's like overspeed. I would like to do that too.
Do you ever do that? I mean, I kind of feel like
no,
that's
but
a cool
you can
thing.
you can pay money and get like a thing that pulls you along so you can run faster. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah. So, like, you start building this muscle memory
stuff.
or something. Your nervous system starts remembering that.
You could do downhill running. I've seen like a very slight downhill. You can do that as well. I know people. I don't do that yet.
All right.
I've been like, I follow, again, this is not really my department as much as it may be like Austin or my coaches, but I've found just getting really far with less. The wiser I get. It's quality over quantity. And in sprinting, like, speed is everything. It's the faster you get speed reserve. So if I can run 22 miles an hour now, running 19 miles an hour is much easier. And so when you look at somebody like Usain Bolt who can run 27 miles an hour, then for him running 25 miles an hour isn't as hard, right? So if you can't run super fast, you're never going to really run that fast. So you have to, for a sprinter, what I've learned is top speed is everything. Maximum velocity is everything. And for you to train max speed, you can't train that much. You have to be rested to train really fast. And that's hard, especially coming from a triathlon background. I mean, I watch the guys running around the track doing, repeat 400s and mile repeats on no rest, and they look like they're dying and their form's horrible. And I'm like sitting there taking a 10-minute break between my 100-meter repeats,
But in the meantime, probably looking much healthier.
I guess yeah. I mean, I feel healthier. I can't really say, but yeah. I do feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking these questions not only for like literally for my brother and his girlfriend. I'm like, we're all interested in this. And I think like the stressing the rest day, because I've thought about that, like the rest. And that's one of also the reasons I love sprinting or like doing pull-ups or how I do pull-ups. Like I feel like I could go to the gym and be there for so long, but something about like going out and doing like 15 pull-ups real hard in real form 4 times in 10 minutes in the sun.
Yeah.
It's like, that's, everyone asks like, how do you build your body like that? I'm like, pull-ups.
Yeah.
And push-ups.
Yeah, sometimes it's the easiest stuff that works the best.
Yeah, but how I do them is very good form, and I do them fast. I like to do them fast with great form.
Yeah.
Usually. Sometimes I'll mix in slow, but I'm just such a believer in the sprinting lifestyle, and that was one of the reasons I was so excited to connect with you. I mentioned some of my goals about my bigger butt and beating my girlfriend in a race. What is your ultimate goal with this stuff that you're doing?
With the running?
Like what you're doing on social media and the running.
Well, the running kind of just ties into I'm obsessed with the body. I'm obsessed with my body, but I'm obsessed with the body. So my dad took his own life when I was 15 and my brother took his own life when I was 20. So at that point, my life significantly changed. And unfortunately, I kind of took a harder road. Thankfully I didn't get into heroin or meth or something. I got into triathlon, but in a way it's like it became a pretty high level addiction, right? So fast forward 15 years and I'm just so interested in bridging the point between your brain and your body, the conscious and the subconscious. I really feel like the body is the subconscious mind, And so improving the breath and improving your range of motion, improving your fascia is such a hot topic, And I just want to see how far I can take that while I feel like I'm in my prime. A lot of people say, when you get your 40s, all things go downhill. But I remember somebody told me, you're in your prime in your early 40s. And I do believe that because I want to see how much faster I can get. And I am getting faster. Every month, I'm getting a little bit faster. So I have this Bluetooth timing thing, and it's accurate to 200ths of a second. It's not like I feel like I'm getting faster. No, I'm looking at data, and I'm getting faster, and I go in the gym, and I'm getting stronger. And so I guess my goal is to just see how far I can take that. My original goal was I wanted to break 50 seconds in the 400, and man, that's that's real hard.
I'm only speculating. I don't know those numbers like I do swimming, 50-yard freestyle, but that sounds very hard.
Yeah, and I've run sub 23 in the 200, and just a few weeks ago, a month ago, I ran 10.8 in the 100.
That sounds very fast.
So not from the blocks, but with a 20-meter fly. So I ran in, timed myself, and 10.8. It's fast.
Yeah, that's
so I'm plenty fast to break 50, but you've got to do these lactic threshold workouts to make sure you don't fall apart in the last 100 of the 400. And I'm kind of tinkering on building too much muscle, because you got to carry around all this muscle around one whole lap, and it's it's fast. I think it's 19. Almost 20 miles an hour average running around one lap.
That reminds me, when does someone hit their peak mile per hour in a run? Like if you're starting from 0 to 100?
Yeah, in the 100 they hit their peak around 50 meters in, 50, 60 meters.
Okay.
And then very few people can really hold that for very long. I think Usain Bolt held his top speed for maybe 30 meters tops. And then everyone starts to decelerate. So the 400 meters is a long deceleration.
Oh, speaking of Usain Bolt, how are Jamaicans so freaking fast?
It's just, I don't know. It seems like it's in their culture, Everyone, sprinting and soccer and running, it just seems like everyone's doing that the moment they grow up. Sprinting is massive in Jamaica.
Have you been to Jamaica?
No, but I'd love to.
Well, we once went, and we ended up not in a touristy area. we ended up in a very, like, we went, a lady on the airplane invited us to her family's place because they lived like in a fruit orchard. And she's like, you shouldn't go to Kingston. That's dangerous. If you're coming here to eat fruit, because my brothers and I were experimenting with a raw vegan diet at this point.
Oh, wow.
And we were going there to eat the best fruit in the world.
Yeah.
And like make videos and have a great time and go to waterfalls and stuff. And she's like, you should just come with me. You do not want to go to Kingston. So we just went there. So we ended up hanging out with all these kids, like the whole family, town, the kids of the town. And you were right.
Yeah.
That's what is one of my conclusions. Like, these kids are just like, and they're barefoot. Yeah. And they just like want to race. They wanted to race us.
Yeah.
They just kept wanting to race us on these dirt roads.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is definitely part of the reason that Jamaica shows up in an absurd percentage of sprinting races.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to the world level.
Yeah. I mean, running and sprinting, it's like a very childlike thing, you know? And running fast well feels amazing. It's like running on water.
The child, I like that you emphasize the child. Like, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, there's a joy to it for sure.
Oh, okay. And then what about the social media side of things? Are you building a business around this? I mean, you already have the bodywork business currently. Are you still doing that currently?
Yes,
okay.
I'm still doing it. Yeah, and I'm helping clients out with movement and breath, doing some small amounts of training, giving some people some advice for the gym. But for the most part, movement, breath, and trying to scale that to help more people online. Online, it's like just trying to figure it out, Didn't like quite grow up with it,
Yeah.
So I'm just now starting to kind of get into providing more value for other people. I want to be an inspiration just by showing people what you can do in your 40s, but also like showing people what am I actually doing behind the scenes. It's a lot. And I think movement and breath is one of those things I'm just really passionate about because it's a little bit newer to me. And I'm definitely more of coming from a Western medicine kind of side, getting into way more of the Eastern medicine, realizing that, wow, like breath is everything. Breath is life. And why aren't we working on this skill? Like, why isn't everybody maximizing their engine, So trying to show people how to maybe improve that, but also coming at it from, I'm learning at this too. And coming at it from, I've had these, these traumas, this very serious trauma, this stress, this anxiety, this depression, and realizing that when I have these moments that I'm not helpless, that I can just close my eyes and do some breathing and do some moving, and then all of a sudden I'm a little bit more grounded and practicing that, just kind of getting into that rhythm, showing how you can do that with other people. So there's something there, and I'm just kind of like figuring it out. I don't want to be so rigid. I feel like all this stuff is like, like I mentioned before we started the podcast, I was a drummer. My dad was a drummer, and I grew up playing music for a lot of years. And there's just something about being creative. And with the body, there's so many people on the internet that are like, you got to do it this way. It's got to be this way. These beats for this long. And I don't think it's like that. I think you are the artist. You're the creator. And you should just learn how to like play again. Try this. Try that. Breathe in when you move this way. Now exhale when you move the same way. When you were a kid, you weren't like thinking, you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. You were just like experimenting. You're like, whoa, feel that. Like, whoa, I don't know about that, man. I was like, I'll try that again,
I totally agree. I wish I had a copy of Breaking Normal. I'm ordering more copies, but the subtitle is "Rewild Your Inner Child and Set the Truth Free."
It's perfect.
Because I don't know what's more pure than play. And I do think playing hard in the form of like sprinting and then even optimizing that, especially when someone's in their 40s, is just a brilliant idea. Now, I definitely that's really, you mentioned the trauma. You called it a trauma. You said your dad
first
when you're 15,
yep.
And your
older brother.
Do you want to share anything about that? I mean, I will say that I've been talking with a friend that seems to be questioning that. And I'm like, so I've connected with people. I've talked about it with a few people on the podcast. I mean, anything you want to share about that.
Yeah.
You never know who's listening. And that sounds like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not an expert, and it's taken me a long time to figure things out that work for myself, but as far as getting into something else, that's definitely in an arena that I want to kind of step into. But by showing people what they can do with their body, with their breath, with strengthening, with playing, exactly the stuff you're talking about. I mean, for me, what do they say? Like salvation is found through suffering. I have found that's like doing uncomfortable things for a while in the beginning. It was something I really had to do. I think that the things that really helped me were getting insanely deep body work. So becoming aware of how much trauma and tension was in my body, I had absolutely no idea. So this would be something I would talk to Austin about, because there's no way that body work, like it works. It absolutely works. And when you take someone whose nervous system is just absolutely shattered from this level of trauma, and then you're trying to cope by training 20, 25 hours a week with triathlon, and then you're drinking and you're smoking pot, the body, it just can't go on like that. And so then when your body gets trashed, your mind is trashed. So I guess for me, this is this sort of like debate of like, change your mind, change your body, or change your body, change your mind. I don't know. It's all the same, right? So I got into body work, and then got a coach, and I realized I can't be doing this drinking thing. And I realized I was eating like shit. I had no sleep schedule. I found ice baths to be helpful. I found saunas to be helpful. I got better friends that just had better habits. So I got better habits. I started doing the work. I started doing the uncomfortable work. And more than anything, the body work just made that shift, because the body work was so intense, it forced me to breathe. Looking back now, I didn't realize that. I was like, that's what was happening. It's like, oh, maybe it's like the body work. Yeah, it was the body work. But also, like, when you're getting like really intense, deep work, if you've ever received anything like that, or like somebody's stepping on you, you can't fight it. Just like you get in the ice bath. I mean, you can't fight it. You just got to like surrender to it. You got to breathe. So if I were to give somebody advice, it would have to be somewhere in the vicinity of one of those things. Pick one of them, then go all in. Go all in on yourself. Do some uncomfortable things. Figure out what's going to get you to breathe. And if you cut out some of the things that you're doing that probably aren't very good, that alone will help. And then if you can start adding some good things in, like maybe a coach or healthy eating, breath work, movement, any one of those things. If all you can handle is one, then just do one. But it's not easy. Yeah. But I will say, like, I was totally in my own way, and like I was trying to escape, and it wasn't working. So, yeah.
Do you have other siblings?
No.
What about your mom?
Yeah, I'm super close with my mom.
Where does she live?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. She did an Ironman 6 years ago.
An Ironman, you said? Yeah. Wow. So y'all train together, it sounds like, or just
she always says she follows me. We're like best friends, Yeah, I got into triathlon, and then a few years later, she got into triathlon, and then ultimately, she was like the oldest female finisher in Ironman Texas. It was, oh man, you should see this. There was a write-up in Humans in New York about her.
Okay. What's her name?
Susan Shadle.
Susan Shadle.
Yeah,
wow.
It was like amazing. Yeah, there's a picture of her like you just see the Ironman finishers, and you just see the joy in people's face, and they're just like everything that went into it, the sacrifice, Wow. She's just got this like childlike. It's her birthday today, by the way.
What?
Yeah, she's just got this like picture. She's just got this like look on her face that's just like,
man.
Yeah.
And have you been on other? I asked you, but have you been on another podcast before?
No.
So
I tried like making my own podcast like 10 years ago. I did a few, and I have a bad habit of like starting things and not finishing them.
Well, so the Breaking Normal podcast, the schedule is synchronicity, and this is your first podcast on your mom's birthday.
Yeah.
I like it. Susan?
Yeah.
Hi, Susan. Maybe y'all will do a podcast together. One of the favorite podcasts I've probably ever done is with my daughter, mom, and dad, and brothers. just because I'm just like, wow, that was like, there's
Yeah.
something about being so intentional of creating a context to communicate about what matters most, and then an effective and efficient and a focused way.
Yeah.
To do that with family is definitely special. So
It'll happen.
yeah. But Shadle's Table,
Shadle's Table, yeah.
on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. And I've got some, I started out doing ASMR massage videos right around COVID. I was just going to make massage videos, and then it sort of turned into ASMR, and I was like, this is kind of weird, but people loved it. I mean, I got like millions of views.
Of you giving the massages and receiving, or
yes,
both
a lot of me giving massages to clients, making like, because I'm really into videography. I got all my camera equipment and sound equipment and all this stuff, and would make binaural sound. So 2 independent, really nice mics to create binaural sound, because our brains, hear things and we see things and we feel things. So people like watching relaxing massage or deep tissue massage and listen to the sounds, and it helps them relax and helps them fall asleep. Some other people use it for other things, but
this is like a sexual turn on, you mean?
I think some people probably use it for a sexual turn on, but I mean, the studies show that that's a minority. Most people find watching that stuff, it relaxes them. And I would like watch my own work and be like,
interesting.
Kind of like relaxing, Like if I get a haircut, it's like the buzzing and the clipping. There's like, I think 50% of the population has this sort of like sensitivity where you see something or hear something and you're like, man, I can't, I'm so tired, watching this or hearing this thing. So it's a big thing.
What does the acronym exactly stand for, ASMR?
Autonomous sensory meridian response, maybe.
And then when you're trying to do, at least when you do an ASMR massage, do you have like microphones set up differently? How's that work?
That's what I was doing. 2 mics and a camera. Sometimes I do it all myself. Sometimes I'd have some help.
And everything else is just as quiet as possible. And like, do you augment the sound after post-production?
They're not, all the videos aren't like that, because honestly, it got kind of annoying. Somebody would be like, oh, I heard something at like 20 minutes and 31 seconds. It sounded like a dog barking. I can't handle that. I'm like, nah, man. This video is good. I put a lot of work into this. You're worried about that one thing.
Wow. So this is I'm not, I have not immersed myself in the ASMR culture at all.
And then there's like the videos I enjoyed more were like, they're almost like performance. They're like, it's kind of what I want to get more into, which is just showing people what I do. Like if I worked on you, right? You'd say, hey, I have these things going on. Hey, I want to like sprint. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go through your body and show you where you don't move, show you what seems tight, and try to get you to move better. Ultimately, the goal is to get you to move better. So how would I go about doing that? And just turning that into sort of like a performance and trying to do that as fast as I can and teach people what I'm looking at, what I'm doing. I did some videos like that were fun. I would say at this point, they're like years old. Mm-hmm. And in the last few years, my bodywork practice has just like significantly changed. So I don't really do that stuff anymore. Just keep adapting, getting better.
Cool. If someone wants to reach out to you, by the way, I always like to ask that. Is there a preferred, can someone message you on Instagram? What's the best way? An email? What is it? Website?
Either one, yeah. Shadle's Table Instagram, shadlestable.com. They can send me a message there.
Awesome. And is there anything you want to make sure that we talk about that we have not yet? Not saying this is the end of the conversation, but want to check in about that.
Anything that we haven't really talked about
that you want to talk about?
Good question. I don't know. What got you into this podcast stuff?
So I hosted those health retreats that I was alluding to for about 11 years. Saw my daughter born in our little beach cottage in Encinitas, California. Not sure if you've ever been there.
Yeah, I think I have been there.
It's a cool town.
Yeah.
And I was basically like working on a book for a long time with a friend. He was like, at one point he was being like, he was studying he was either going to be like a spy or a journalist or something like that. So he wanted to do a project with me where he could help me write a book. And I was like, well, I my issue with writing a book is actually sitting down in front of a computer and typing or writing. So what if I just sent you voice notes? And we ended up working together for like years. sending him voice notes. And finally, we just kept going back and forth. And I saw my daughter born, and I was like, oh, I'm going to publish that book now. Can we put this together? And then once that was published,
And when was that?
that my daughter was born in April 2017.
Okay.
So then I published the book in May 2000.
Okay.
And we actually had a video that went so viral that we actually kind of rushed the publishing. I did this video of my daughter. She was like crying on my chest. She was crying. I was doing like a long video, and all of a sudden she started crying. And then I went, oh.
Oh, I watched that video.
Okay,
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's probably been viewed billions of times if you count all. I mean, like I'm probably more than half the world has seen it. Is my guess.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, and I remember that day, the next day I got picked up from an Uber and the guy was like, see you later, daddy. And I was like, what the freak? I was like, I guess 80 million people did see this video like yesterday. So maybe
awesome.
so, and then there was just like, something hit me. I was like, the Breaking Normal podcast. I have so many Breaking Normal people in my life. I was like traveling around the world for like 11 years. And I was like, I want to start making sure if I'm ever cross paths with them, I'll have an hour to sit down and talk about whatever comes up. Not like talk about the specific thing, but whatever comes up. And so I think we were in Austin, Texas on a trip, and I realized I had all these like cool people that were living right around me. Like one of my good friends, JP Sears. Do you know of him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of work together, and I was staying at his place, and he had the headsets. He had like the proper headsets for a podcast. And I was like, I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going to do 12 days of Christmas leading up to Christmas. It was like 12 days away. I'm going to do 12 interviews in Austin. I'm going to do that. And I committed to it. And I had like all these epic people wanted to be on the show. So I did 12 interviews in a row.
Wow.
Unleashed them one day at a time leading up to Christmas. JP was first. And ever since doing that, yeah, like I want to keep doing it. I kept it going for about once every week for a year. And then it became more organic once like my lifestyle changed a little bit more. But now that I'm here with Yuval, how do you and Yuval, tell me how y'all know each other after this, but he started this podcast this studio right around the time when I was like, I was interested in doing full video productions. Mm-hmm. And then we ran into each other at the coffee shop. We've known each other from the creek. He's one of the guys, complimenting me on my fitness because all the pull-ups I do.
Yeah.
He was curious about that tallow balm at one point. Did you smell that? Did you like that?
Yeah, it smells good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, and then he told me about you. How do y'all know each other?
We met each other at the City Club, I guess, through Dustin and just for lunch. And we just all talking about health and sprinting and body work. I think I probably pinched his traps and made his eyeballs pop out of his head. And he was like, holy crap, this guy's hands are strong. And we're best friends ever since. We did some video work together. And yeah.
Grip strength. That's a thing that I hear a lot of good things about. Grip strength that's correlated with longevity, like even more so than like blood pressure. Do you do anything for your grip strength other than like body work? That's enough.
Yes.
That's enough.
I always like, well, he's such an amazing practitioner in jiu-jitsu, and so it's like I've tried jiu-jitsu a little bit, and I'm like, man, like I'm weightlifting, doing body work, squeezing the crap out of people, and doing jiu-jitsu. That would be a lot. I'm like, you got to recover, man.
I've never done jiu-jitsu, but I just remembered I may have had a dream about doing jiu-jitsu yesterday.
Yeah. I
remember getting like smothered by someone and just like,
yep.
I remember like smelling them in my dream. And I was like, wait, who was that? That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else. I mean, again, it's like I'm really just getting into the movement breathwork stuff coming from a bodywork background and tying that into to mental health, I think is an area that desperately needs more attention. It's like I've worked very, very hard on being open and calm, talking about what's happened, to me. And it's not really unfortunately, it's not an uncommon story. What's unfortunate is that not a lot of people talk about it. And a lot of people that hear this conversation, they don't really know how to respond. The times I've told people where there's just like a blank stare. What do you say?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I wanted to know what you would say to others, because I do know others that it's a reality. I don't know what the percentage of people that die at certain ages are from suicide or not in different demographics, but it's high.
Historically forever.
Yeah.
and high and not. I don't think they're always classified as suicides. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of shame around it. So we don't really, we don't really know we don't know the numbers accurately. Yeah.
And then it might be the other, and then there's the flip flop of like
Sure.
sometimes when like, are we sure that person?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like my mom, a long time ago, we did talks at Compassionate Friends, and there's the support for the survivors of family suicide, right? So where's the support for the survivors of the family suicide? So what's happening with that? And those are the people that are really suffering as well. There are people suffering who are maybe not wanting to be around, but there are also people like myself who've suffered because we lost people. Yeah.
And I've been part of conversations where I've heard, especially at our retreats, where I've heard the perspective of what it means to someone to take their own life like that. And I remember one of I think it may have been JP or someone advising someone, like just reminding them that it's really not about you. You're not going to be hurting yourself as much as you're going to be hurting.
Yeah.
Like he would always like remind them that in a gentle way.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I tell my clients, the pain you don't feel is far worse than the pain you do feel. Most people don't realize the amount of pain they're in, even people that think they're sane or doing okay. Mm-hmm. Another reason why bodywork is amazing, becoming aware, you're like, oh, damn.
And bodywork is pretty general. Like for someone that's like, all right, like say my friend that's listening, I'm like, all right, I'll try that bodywork thing. Do you have a direction for someone to start? Does that mean go getting a massage, or does that mean getting a Thai massage, or does it mean getting a myofascial release, or what?
Good question. I think if someone's never gotten a massage, I mean, getting a massage from a reputable person, so they've got great Google reviews, a great presence, maybe on their website, doesn't look like a child made it with a crayon. Because I do think like the Google reviews do matter. But I am definitely a fan of like something like Thai massage, where it's going to be more movement based, long, deep compression holds, breath work. And again, that's I feel like relatively new for me. That's kind of how my work used to be more but having someone get a Thai massage, something like that, or I suppose some kind of myofascial kind of thing. Sports massage might be pretty good, but it's hard to say because you just never really know. To me, it's really about that connection with that body worker. Once you establish that great connection with that body worker, they really get to know you. I feel like a lot of people don't give body work enough of a chance. They don't give that massage therapist enough of a chance. They go there once and they don't get any more body work. I mean, just like you go to the gym, I mean, you can't get results in just a few weeks, months. Sometimes it takes years, So figuring out how to like keep going in so that both of you can learn about your body. What are we trying to do here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, talking about something that doesn't get talked about a lot, it's a little taboo. Because I've been around so many different people for such a different long time, they've gotten so many different types of body work, whether they were giving it or receiving it, that there has been an alarming amount of people that felt sexually violated without something sexual happening. Like I'm talking about like someone I know real close. They're like, she just kept grabbing my ass, and I had to tell her to stop. Like at first, it was like, and he left feeling like violated. Yeah. And this is like, I could probably think of like 10 different stories around this.
Yeah.
Dude, I have never talked about that with anyone that does body work. I don't think. So I'm like, what do you have to say about this situation?
Well, I think
it's more real than people.
Yeah, think? I mean, I think that's true. I'm just gonna, I mean, I would say also too, like for female massage therapists, body workers, they're also having a lot of issues from the client. But as to what you're saying, absolutely. I mean, you're in a pretty vulnerable state too, right? So if you're getting massage, and I would classify massage as like it's like a really nice car wash. I know that probably doesn't sound very nice to say, but you're getting some oil and some lotion and some scents, and you're undressed, right? You're in a vulnerable position. Mm-hmm. The kind of body work that I do, I don't even have people undress anymore. So they, if a woman comes in, it's sports bra and some bike shorts or tights or something. If it's a guy, it's shorts and no shirt. I don't really see the point of undressing anymore, because my ultimate goal is to just get you moving better. And I don't need to like massage you down with oil or lotion or anything. So I don't use any oil or lotion anymore. I have other practices that work just as well, like Thai massage. I mean, they don't use a lot of them don't use any oil or lotion. So
Yeah, it's just there's like so many subtleties because I've gotten a lot of massage before, and there was like I remember a lady that just like doing Thai massage, and it's like, you know how you have like the band around your shorts, and she just like grabbed my dick and moved it. And I was like, whoa. And it was I didn't care. And I was like, it wasn't like, oh, let's do that again. It was just like, whoa. That was just like, I didn't expect her to move my stuff. So not like under the sheet, but she did kind of grab it. Yeah. And I was just like, but I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I don't know. Does she know I was okay with that? Like,
was she American?
No, very Thai, an old Thai lady.
So, I mean, I've talked to people from like the Philippines, and they're like, it's an American thing. Like in, Thailand and Eastern Europe, it seems to be a lot more like open and comfortable, and it's like not weird. But I guess the argument could be made that America has a lot of like sexual shame. So I don't get that's like a real complicated conversation.
I know it is. It's fascinating. I mean, I think one of the most important things is to really know your boundaries when you're like when you're navigating body workers.
Yeah, I mean, if I had, in the perfect world, I'd be like, why can't we get couples to move, breathe, and massage each other? Why can't we get couples, partners, to work on each other? Why is it that it has to be all about me, and why can't I learn to do stuff to serve my other partner, right? Why can't I learn how to work on your shoulders? Why can't I study this thing? Why can't I go learn with somebody, right? Why do I have to go see somebody else?
Are you interested in that, like offering that as a business model, by the way? Because I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea for what you're saying right there.
Yeah.
Is if you can teach couples to become their own body workers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds great. I guess the question is, will they do the work? Because it's hard. I mean, I guess you can make it easy, but you still have to like take the time to do it and put in a little bit of work.
But like even like a basic, you could do like a basic online course. It could be like, and then if they want to go dive deeper.
Totally.
I'm wondering. I don't know much about that niche, but that sounds like a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about something. I don't know if you have feelings about porn.
Yeah.
But it seems like what I'm understanding is a lot of people are struggling with porn, especially like younger men. Yep. And I was thinking something similar about like if I was going to ever get involved in the porn industry, that was like, why can't can I create a program to encourage, like something to encourage couples to make their own porn?
Yeah.
So like replace it, like instead of watching someone else that you have no idea anything about and why they're even on this video and like, jerking off to a screen like that. Like, what if you made your own?
Yeah.
Is there a business like that? Teaching people how to make their own porns?
Not sure. I haven't really looked for it. But I think what you're saying is
just like a little encouragement, like $100 course or something.
Like being present and like being comfortable with each other's bodies. I mean, so many of us we're not comfortable with our own body, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like part of the issue with porn. I think if you can make your own porn, I think you'll have less of an issue.
Yep.
Watching porn.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that could be I'm sure that business model could take off. Whether it's good or not, I don't know.
Well, we both might. If I work on my mustache a little more, we might be good badasses for that program.
Yep.
Like become your own body workers and your own porn stars.
Yes. Breaking normal.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of radical to think about, but people have I hear a lot of complaining about the porn issue, and I'm like, well, this is an idea. Yeah. What other ideas exist? You're just going to tell people not to watch porn?
Yeah. That's a high level addiction right there.
Oh man. I'm happy to be free from that one.
Yeah.
And I do think it has something to do with me thinking about other ways to.
Right.
Well, we're getting pretty close to this 2:45.
Okay.
I know you have a little bit somewhere to go here soon. Anything else? Any questions for me? And I you were talking about a lot of breath work, and you did some beatboxing before we began.
There we go.
I mean, beatboxing and like the instrument I want to learn is the didgeridoo. Have you ever done that?
No.
That seems like a breath work.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah. I mean, there's another topic there. I mean, just other ways to practice breath work. Like I've been trying to sing a little bit. Never really thought I had a nice voice, but the more I work on my breath, I start singing. I'm like, I think I sound better. But more than anything, it feels good. Like humming, right? Singing, making sounds. it stimulates the vagus nerve. Not that you need to know like what it does, but there's a reason why it feels good. So there's other ways to practice breath work. There's something there.
Singing. Are you working with a singing coach or just singing on your own?
When
you
singing
say
on my own.
What does that mean? Like you're just like in the car or just
in the car or listen to some music. And it's just again, it's another thing. It's like because the pattern for me has been like, I could get stressed and tense and get in my head and then start, it's not a good place for me. So then I go back to my toolkit and I say, well, what can I do? I'm not helpless. So I can put on some good music and I can sing and I can breathe. I can close my eyes. I can move around. Breath work, movement, singing, humming, beatboxing, making myself laugh, making noises, sighing. I don't want to do it in that moment. I have to do it because if I keep going down that place where I'm feeling kind of down, I know where it goes.
How do you make yourself laugh?
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess making fart noises. I can make fart noises.
Like with your mouth or like
yeah, or something like that. I don't know. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. Singing. I might sing and it might at some point just be kind of goofy and then I just start cracking myself up. I mean, you can't take yourself too serious.
Do you make your own songs up or you always sing along?
I have a buddy. He would be amazing to interview, actually. He's super talented, and he was a roommate of mine, and he raps.
Okay.
And it's amazing.
What's his name?
Robin. Yeah.
Does he put his stuff up on social media if we want to check him out?
Very little.
Okay.
But he's an artist. He's made some wall art, and he makes cards.
Cards?
Yeah, he makes his own cards, but it's all his artistry on the cards,
okay,
handmade cards. Yeah. But he's so talented in so many different ways. He's helped me make my running videos, my sprinting videos where there's somebody filming while I'm sprinting. He's on a bicycle filming with
nice.
a camera, and it's dope. If you saw that one where I'm running,
I saw some fancy videos. He's just doing that on a bike next to you. That's pretty awesome. Okay.
But his rapping ability, it's like poetry, and it's not like he's just making it up. So I've been trying to practice that rhyming, rapping. Not the best at it, but sometimes you just get in that flow and you're like, damn, that sounds pretty good.
I like that your notebook's empty.
Yeah.
And for the sake of doing something fun, comfortable, I've never tried. I could. What if I did an ohm? I tried a long, drawn out ohm. Do you think it would sound good if you beatboxed with it?
I don't know. We could try it.
Or what do you think would sound best with it?
With the ohm?
Yeah, I'll try to do a long, steady ohm.
We could try to harmonize the ohm.
Meaning,
I don't know. You make an ohm sound.
Let me do an ohm real quick.
Yeah.
Let me just do another miniature one. Oh. Wow. See, that was real breath work for me.
Breaking normal.
I probably just breathed out for 45 seconds.
That's good.
And I didn't have a full breath.
Yeah.
You want to do it one more time or are we good? You got to go?
That was good. I think that's going to be
good. That was good.
Paparazzi's probably here. Records coming out.
I thought it started sounding pretty good.
Yovel Industries.
But it doesn't matter how it sounded to others. I felt good.
Yeah. I think that's really important.
Good.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you've been doing a much better job than I have been doing with breathing.
You think so? Why do you say that?
Well, I've been watching you.
Oh, you mean through our interview?
Yeah.
Oh, I aim to. I had a lady that once was I call her my bison shaman, and she was basically saying that we could demolish the devil's rope if we all started nose breathing.
It's awesome. I love it.
And I have noticed sometimes I think if I find myself in maybe a little bit of a panic here or a little more out of control situation, I probably am not breathing through my nose slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That episode I think is called Nose Breathing Bison Shaman Demolishing the Devil's Rope, Tara Sheehan. Anyways, I think I'll name this episode. Did you say, getting really far with less?
I like it.
Josh Shadle. And we can put his Instagram and YouTube. Anything else?
Sure.
Is there anything else people should check out?
Maybe the website.
Oh, yeah. What's their website?
Shadlestable.com.
Shadlestable.com. All right. We got the links. We got the probably close to about an hour of your time. And I appreciate you breaking normal with me. It felt very breaking normal for you as well.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons I like co-creating the spaces. Thank you, Yavel.
Thank you, Yuval.
Oh, and by the way, if do you listen to podcasts? Are you subscribed to podcasts at all?
A little bit. I don't listen to them as much as I probably could.
Which do you use a certain platform?
Spotify.
So do you subscribe and then you see the new episodes that are available?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like to me a big thing in my life.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with this Spotify subscription service. And before we'd only do the audios, but because of UL and Let's Do Podcasts, we got the full videos. So if you're listening to this and you like what you heard, or you're intrigued about the next interview, or intrigued about some of the past ones we talked about, simply like subscribe on Spotify, and then it'll notify you every time a new episode comes up. And leave your review. Let us know what you think about this interview. Reach out to Josh. I'm excited to maybe get some running in with you and more.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Keep breaking normal, y'all.